Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Friday, October 11th edition of the MMAOB Daily podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'll be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. You can follow me on Twitter at MMAdamMartin, and this podcast, as always, is available at MMAOddsbreaker.com. Go to our YouTube channel, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Also, check me out at bjpenn.com, MMA ratings on net. All right, guys, a lot to talk about today. I'll be previewing both PFL's 2019 Week 7 playoff fights, which are tonight, as well as Bellator 230, which is tomorrow, and a couple pieces of news and a couple finance announcements at the end. And I want to mention very quickly that there's a chance I might be at UFC 244 next month in New York. I'll let you guys know next week, but it's looking like that could happen. So I'm pretty excited about that, but not official yet. But yes, I could be at UFC 244 next month, and I'm pretty stoked about this. So I'll let you guys know next week if that's going to happen for sure. It won't affect the podcast. I'll still be doing that, obviously. New York's like an hour from home, so it's not too far. All right, let's get into today's show. PFL 2019 Week 7 semifinal fights. Unfortunately, there are no odds out yet. I don't know what's going on with these PFL odds. They're really taking a long time. Kind of crazy. Fights are tonight, but yes, no odds yet, which is very unfortunate. But I'll still talk about the fights, so let's get right through them. There's a switch up in the Kayla Harrison fight. Jana Fabian's out of the fight due to weight cutting issue, and now Bobby Joe Dalzo is taking the fight on short notice. And of course, I'll still pick Kayla Harrison. I expect her to be a huge favorite once again. 5-0, 29 years old, in the prime of her career. 5-0 in MMA, 5-0 in PFL. So great in PFL. Beat Larissa Pacheco, beat Morgan Fryer this year. She's just a fantastic fighter. Really, really good ground grappling, and she's probably one of the best women's fighters in the world right now, even though she only has 5 fights. She's a lightweight, obviously, and she should beat Bobby Dalzo here, 5-1. She's actually a Canadian fighter from Ontario, 33 years old. PFL, she's 1-1. She beat Jana Fabian, lost to Larissa Pacheco, so I guess she does make sense as a injury replacement for Fabian, considering she beat her, but taking the fight at short notice, fighting Kayla Harrison. I expect Kayla Harrison to be like at least minus 1,000, if not like minus 2,000 in this fight. I'm not even exaggerating. I think she will be a massive, massive favorite, and she should win this fight in the first round via submission. Next women's fight here, Sarah Kaufman against Larissa Pacheco. I should mention these are both semifinal fights, but the fighters will not be fighting twice. They will be fighting one time, and then the finals will be at the New Year's Eve show. So Sarah Kaufman against Larissa Pacheco. Sarah Kaufman, 21-4 record, 34 years old. She's looked pretty good in PFL, I should say, 1-0 with the win over Morgan Fryer by submission. She also looked good in PFL, beat Pani Gianzad and Katarina Leonard there, won the title, and then signed with PFL. We all remember her from her UFC and Strikeforce stints. She was the former Strikeforce women's bantamweight champion. She had some good wins there. She fought very tough competition in Strikeforce. She beat Misha Tate, Shayna Baszler, Roxanne Modafferi, Liz Carmouche, Alexis Davis, lost to Marlis Kunin and Ronda Rousey in Strikeforce, but still, that's a very solid record. Her record in the UFC was pretty good too. It wasn't as good. It was 1-2 and 1 no contest, but she had the win over Leslie Smith, losses to Alexis Davis and Valentina Shevchenko by split decision, which wasn't that bad, and then she got cut. So, and she had the no contest with Jessica Eye, which is a fight where many people thought she should have won, and I tested positive for marijuana, and she won a split, I think, that night, and she probably should have lost the split. I think Sarah Kaufman won that fight. So I think she got a short end of the stick from the UFC, getting cut after losing to Shevchenko by split decision 4 years ago. I mean, looking back, that's not too bad. Taking on Larissa Pacheco here, who I actually like quite a bit. 12-3 record, 25 years old. PFL, she's 1-1. Lost to Kayla Harrison, beat Bobby Joe Dalzo by submission in the first round. And you have to remember, she actually went the full 3 with Kayla Harrison, which not many fighters do. In the UFC, she also struggled. She went 0-2, lost to Jessica Andrade and Jermaine Durand by strikes. But you got to remember, she was in the UFC at like age 20, 21. That was super young. She has a notable win over Irene Aldana earlier in her career. She's a pretty solid fighter, I believe. I do think she actually is still a UFC caliber fighter. Sarah Kaufman will be favored. I expect her to be like minus 300, maybe. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what the odds will be. That's just my guess. But I would consider taking Pacheco if she's a big underdog here, because I think she has some advantages, such as being younger, a little bit fresher in the fight game. But, with that experience and just Kaufman's overall game and her grappling, you got to favor her. But I would not count Pacheco out. I do think she has a chance to win this fight. And PFL has plenty of upsets, and I think this could be one of them. So definitely keep your eye on Larissa Pacheco. All right, let's get to the You know what? Yeah, let's get to the quarterfinal fights here in the welterweight division. So these fighters will be fighting twice. The first round is 2 rounds, and then the second round will be 3 rounds. So this is the quarterfinals, and then they'll do the semifinals later on in the night. So let's start with this fight: John Howard against David Michaud. John Howard, 28-15-1 record, 36 years old, very experienced fighter. Obviously, fought in the UFC for a long time. Fought a lot of good fighters in his career. I don't have to name them. He's fought pretty much everyone in the welterweight division. Since he came to PFL, he actually has looked decent. And he's 3-2-1, so that's not too bad. He beat Gasanu Malatov, Eddie Gordon, and this year he beat Ray Cooper by knockout, which was an absolutely exceptional win. Lost to Bruno Santos and Magomedov and has a draw with Lewis Taylor. So he's looked great, and I think he looks a lot better at the 170 weight class. He fought 185 last year, but 170 is an excellent weight class for him. David Michaud here, 16-5 record. He's looked okay in PFL as well. He's just 1-1, but yeah, that nice win in his last fight against Hadison Ferreira by stoppage. Did lose to Sabdusi by body kick, so that's concerning. He's been knocked out a couple times in his career. Another former UFC fighter. So, I think it's a pretty close fight. Personally, I expect John Howard to be favored considering he is coming off the knockout win over Ray Cooper, but I wouldn't completely count out David Michaud. I think he's pretty tough. He's a pretty durable guy, and for the most part, and a pretty gritty fighter, and he does have finishing power, surprising finishing power. He finishes most of his fights. His last 10 wins are by stoppage. So he's an underrated finisher. Again, John Howard should be favored here, coming off the win over Ray Cooper. But again, it's another situation where I have to look at the odds before I really decide who I'd go with here. My pick would be John Howard, but don't count out David Michaud. He does have a chance to win this fight. Next up, Magomed Karamov against Chris Curtis. Magomed Karamov, 25-5. He won last year's welterweight tournament. This guy's an exceptional fighter. He is on looks like a 10-fight win streak here. Unbelievable. Just a really good record. Actually coming off a win over Chris Curtis earlier this year. He also has wins over guys like John Howard and Ray Cooper 3 in PFL. So he's just a great fighter and very young too, 29 years old. So in the prime of his career, taking on Chris Curtis in a rematcher. Chris Curtis, 21-6, 32 years old. PFL, he beat Andre Fiallo via stoppage, and then he lost to Karamov. He's a really good fighter, Chris Curtis, but man, this is such a bad matchup for him. I don't like the matchup at all. We've seen it already just a few months ago. I don't think anything's changed. I felt bad for Chris Curtis, just the way that the chips kind of played out here with the way that the format works with the points, and he gets the rematch with Magomed Karamov. I'm sure he wants the rematch. I know he's that kind of guy that believes he can win this fight, but I don't like the matchup for Chris Curtis. Give me Magomed Karamov. He probably wins this fight by stoppage this time around. Chris Curtis is a tough dude, but I think he'll finish the fight. Although the fact that it's only 2 rounds, maybe it does go to the decision, but I expect Magomed Karamov to win regardless. Next up, Glyco Franca takes on Andre Fiallo. Another solid fight here. Glyco Franca, 21-5 record, 28 years old. In the prime of his career, he's on a nice win streak as well. A 7-fight win streak, coming off of 2 straight wins in PFL over Gamzat, Kira Magomedov, and Saddusi. So solid couple wins there. And this guy, another former UFC fighter. And I talked to him in the podcast the other day with Cole, and man, I felt bad for this guy because look at his record in the UFC. He beat Fernando Bruno, and then he lost to James Vick and Greg Gillespie by decision and got cut. So that's a cut the UFC probably regrets because this guy's looked great since then. Taking on Andre Fiallo here, 10-2 record, Portuguese fighter, 25 years old. He trains in the American Kickboxing Academy, so a good camp. Lost to Chris Curtis in his PFL debut. He's formerly a Bellator fighter. He fought some okay competition in Bellator. He lost to Chidi Njokuani, beat AJ Matthews and Javier Torres. So he has some experience, but again, Glyco Franca should win 2-round fight. You never know if it's a decision or if it's a stoppage, but I expect Glyco Franca to win this fight pretty impressively. Next up, Saddusi versus Ray Cooper 3. Again, a 2-round fight here in the welterweight division. Saddusi, 8-5-1 record, 32 years old. Kind of been up and down in PFL. He's got a 2-3-1 record in PFL. Beat Chow Mogulech and David Michaud by strikes, but lost to Glyco Franca by strikes, and then also lost to Busipian, Magomedov, and Bruno Santos by decision, and has a draw with Bruno Santos. So kind of been up and down. His record obviously isn't great. He has a decent amount of experience for the amount of fights he has against decent competition, but I don't know, 8-5-1 record is not too impressive to me. Ray Cooper 3 here, 18-7 record, 26 years old. He was the star of last year's tournament. He beat Jake Shields twice. He beat Pavel Kush. He beat Henderson Fajea. And then he lost to Magomed Karamov in the finals. No shame in that. beats Zane Kamaka this year, and then he loses to John Howard by knockout in his last fight, which was a shocker to everyone, and a really bad performance by Ray Cooper III. He just kind of got cocky and got, he just went in a firefight against John Howard, and he probably thought he could knock John Howard out, like most of us thought he would. He gets knocked out himself, so that was disappointing. But man, I fully expect him to win this fight. I like Ray Cooper III. I think he probably does finish the fight, even though it's 2 rounds. I expect him to finish it. If not, I fully expect him to win the decision, and he should be a big favorite here. So my picks for that welterweight bracket would be Howard, Magomed Karamov, Franca, and Cooper, and then we'll see how the semifinals go. I don't think they'll offer odds for the semifinals. Maybe they would, but probably not considering the short notice of them. So should be a decent little card there as far as tournament bouts go. And I should mention there's 2 non-tournament fights on this card as well. Jesse Ronson takes on Nikolai Alexakin. This fight should be decent as well. Jesse Ronson, 20-9 record, another former UFC guy. Lost his PFL debut to Nathan Schulte. It snapped a 5-fight win streak for him and the TKO promotion in Canada and ACB as well. And takes on the Russian here, Alex Sakin, 24-5 record, 28 years old. He's on a 6-fight win streak, and I mentioned this guy in the podcast as well. He has a lot of experience. He's fought Ben Askren in one championship. He has some wins over Mike Graves, Dominic Steele, Elias Severio, and Jonathan Webb, all former UFC fighters. So this guy's pretty solid, I think, and I actually believe he probably wins this fight. So that would be my pick. But again, we don't have odds, so hard for me to really go and say, go and bet on him. We don't have odds. If he's an underdog, though, I definitely would make a play on this guy because I do think he wins. Next up, and final bout of the card, a featherweight non-tournament fight between Brendan Lofton and Matt Waggy. Brendan Lofton, 17-3 record, 29 years old. Another former UFC guy. He fought once in the UFC against Mike Wilkinson, lost the decision. That was after the Tough Smasher show. Obviously, one of Europe's best prospects, coming off 3 straight wins, including a decision win over Bill Algeo on the Contender Series this summer. And it was a great fight and great performance, and Dana White didn't sign him. It was a dumb call by Dana White, and they passed on this guy. He's a very good fighter. Takes on Matt Waggy here, 13-6 record, 27 years old. Team Alpha Male guy, actually coming off a Strikes loss in Titan FC, so that's not too good. Won 3 fights before that. So he has, I guess, some decent amount of experience in Titan FC. He's fought some guys that you'd recognize, like Benito Lopez and a couple other dudes. He's fought Combachas America, Titan FC, Gladiator Challenge. So he actually does have some experience. But yeah, I expect Brandon Lofton to win this fight. They're setting it up for him to win, and I fully expect him to do so in impressive fashion. So should be a pretty good card. This card, I believe, is on TSN tonight, actually, for the Canadians that are listening to this podcast. So that's pretty cool. But it'd be nice if we had odds. So, we'll see if PFL can figure out their odds thing. I have heard a rumor that they could be hiring a very good odds maker, wink, wink, to do their odds. So we'll see what happens there. But they do need someone to do their odds because, it's Friday morning and the card's in just a few hours and we have no odds. So that's pretty stupid. Bellator 230, same problem here with Bellator. There's only 2 odds out for this card right now. Hopefully there will be more odds dropping, but as of now, there's just 2 odds out. So Bellator 230, Manhoef versus Bahati. So let's talk about that fight. Melvin Manhoef against Yannick Bahati. Melvin Manhoef opened as a minus 260 favorite. Bahati opened as a +180 underdog. Manhoef, 31-14-1 record in his career. Obviously a very experienced guy. 43 years old, though, so very old right now. Bellator, he's been up and down, coming off a win over Kent Coppenden by decision, which was a good win, but before that, he lost twice to Rafael Carvalho. Obviously one of the most experienced guys in Bellator's middleweight division. Fought everyone. He's been around for a long time. First fight in 1995, so he's been around for over 20 years, almost 25 years in MMA, since he was 18 years old. So Manuel Manhoef, great striker, as we know, but his chin is very, very scary. It's hard to lay money on this guy because if he gets touched on his chin, he can get finished by pretty much anyone at this point. So 43 years old, not the kind of guy you want to bet on. Bahati, though, I mean, I don't know a ton about him. 9-4 record, 29 years old, much younger, obviously. Coming off a win over Amir Dadjevic in Bellator. Before that, lost 3 straight fights, including a knockout loss to Mike Shipman. He actually has a decent amount of experience. He also lost to Dalka Lugamambula, who's in the UFC right now. That guy's, I think, a heavyweight, so that's crazy to me. But, this is probably a setup fight for Melvin Manhoef. I just wouldn't completely trust him. I don't know. I personally wouldn't bet on Manhoef. Right now, he's minus 245. I personally wouldn't bet on him just because I can't trust his chin. I think people will probably parlay him and the next guy I'll talk about in a second, but it's risky. That's what I'll say, because this guy, Bahati, couldn't catch him on the chin and finish him. So my pick's Manhoef, probably by knockout, but I wouldn't bet on him. And the other fight with odds is a 205-pound bout. Actually, the Melvin Manhoef fight I should mention is actually a 205-pound fight. And this fight also 205 pounds. Alessio Sakara against Cannon Grigsby. So Alessio Sakara, once again, another former UFC fighter. I've been saying that a lot in this podcast. 19-3 record, 38 years old. He hasn't looked too great lately. 1-2 record in his last 3. Lost to Ken Kapanen by knockout. Carvalho knocked him out. Beat Jamie Sloan. Also beat Joey Beltran and Brian Rogers in Bellator. So 3-2 overall in Bellator, but there's a reason he retired in the first place. He actually has a lot of experience, as we know, fought in the UFC for a long time. But another guy that, if he touches chin, he can get finished. Taking on Cannon Grigsby here. His nickname's the Super Beast. 8-7 record. 39 years old. So it's definitely an older fighter here. He's lost 3 of his last 4 fights. His last 2 fights he's lost. Got knocked out in his last one on the regional scene. He hasn't fought in 2 years, over 2 years. He does have some experience as well. He fought Rafael Alvarez Jr. He fought Ian Heinisch, Daquan Townsend. Those guys are all in the UFC and Bellator right now. So he has a decent amount of experience. But, I expect Sakara to win. But once again, it's like you really want to bet on a guy with that kind of chin. And I should mention the odds, which I forgot to mention. Sakara opened at -600, Grigsby open +400 right now. Sakara -650, Grigsby +420. I fully expect Sakara to win, but -650 on a guy like that, I personally wouldn't bet on it, but that's just me. All right, a couple pieces of news here to get to. Joanna Jedrzejczyk, I got to talk about this quickly. She made weight. She did make weight, so good for her. Joanna makes weight, and UFC Tampa fight with Michelle Waterson's on. Good for her. She came in under the 116-pound women's strawweight non-title limit. So the fight's official for UFC Tampa. And, I'm glad we have a fight for tomorrow. Didn't look like that for a while, but it's going to happen, so that's great. And one other thing I want to talk about here, it's pretty funny stuff. Tyron Woodley, he wants to box Canelo Alvarez. That's not going to go too well for Tyron, in my opinion, but he thinks he can knock Canelo out. It's a smart way for Tyron to keep his name in the news. People are talking about this, but I don't like this call at all for Tyron Woodley. It won't happen, but he's smart. He's just getting his name in the news. If it happens, I expect it to look like McGregor versus Mayweather, if not even less competitive than that. All right, a couple of fight announcements, and I'll get out of here. UFC 245 gets another good fight. Man, this card is sick, and again, I'll be at this card. So if any of you guys are going to be at that one in Vegas, definitely hit me up because I'd love to hang out a bit. So we got a women's bantamweight bout between Irene Aldana and Ketlen Vieira. So great fight. 2 of the top 10 women's bantamweights. Ketlen Vieira, 28 years old. She's 10-0 in her career, so she's one of the top prospects in that division. She has not fought in well over a year and a half. She's 4-0 in the UFC, beat Kelly Fashels, beat Ashley Evans-Smith, beat Sarah McMahon, and beat Katz again on her last fight, which was the biggest win of her career. And right now, I think she's ranked number 3. So to me, she's ranked too high because she hasn't fought in forever, but there's no doubt this woman's talented. And I am excited to see her compete in this fight against Aldana, who's very experienced in the UFC at this point, 31 years old, 11-5 record. She's looked pretty good in the UFC for the most part, 4-3. She's coming off a win over Vanessa Mello, catchweight fight. She's actually won 4 of her last 5 fights. Very good fighter. I think you got to go with Vieira, though. Even with the layoff, like the fact she's undefeated, the fact she's such a highly touted prospect, and Irene Aldana is a really good fighter, don't get me wrong, but I do see holes in her game, and I think Vieira can expose them, especially with the takedown defense. I believe she can actually get this fight to the ground and kind of a wrestler. So I'd have to go with Vieira, but again, with that long layoff, it's hard to be like, oh, okay, run out and bet on her, especially when we don't know the odds. And the last fight I want to talk about here, King Mo is coming back for one more fight. He said he was going to retire, but he wants to fight once more, and he's going to be fighting this guy, Andrew Kapel, at Bellator 233 in November. So King Mo, man, he's struggled lately. He's obviously an older fighter at this point, 38 years old. Overall in his career, 29-1, no contest, coming off 3 straight knockout losses to Yuri Prochazka, Liam McGarry, and Ryan Bader. So to be fair to King Mo, he's lost 3 really good fighters, but still, his chin is definitely shaky at this point, and there's a reason he retired in the first place. But again, he wants to go out and win, and he'll be fighting this guy, Andrew Kapel. And let's be honest here, none of us have really heard of this dude before yesterday when the fight was announced. 14-6 record, 34 years old, coming off 4 straight wins on the regional scene. He's fought for Victory FC, a couple other promotions in like North Dakota, South Dakota area. Yeah, I mean, King Mo should win this fight, but again, with that chin, it's kind of not. I don't know if you want to bet on him, but we don't have odds. I expect him to be a big favorite, though, obviously. So again, it's kind of disappointing we don't have odds for PFL and Bellator, but hopefully they come out today. I'm crossing my fingers because I know a lot of you guys want to bet in these fights. I think that's it for today, guys. So once again, thanks for tuning in to the MMAOB Daily podcast. I'm your host, always, Adam Martin. I really appreciate it, guys. It's been a good week. It's Friday, so the weekend's coming up. We got some really good fights this weekend. Again, PFL tonight, Bellator tomorrow, UFC tomorrow. There's also one championship this weekend. So there's lots of fights there. Really looking forward to these fights. You guys can check me out on Twitter at MMAOB, and this podcast is available as always at MMAOddsbreaker.com. Go to our YouTube channel, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Trying to grow those numbers, guys. So please, share the word. Doing this podcast Monday to Friday, and it'd be nice to get some more listenership and viewership. So that'd be great. Also check me out at bjpen.com, constantly writing there, and MMA Rings on that as well. Usually post an article or two a week there as well. So once again, guys, thanks for tuning in today to the podcast. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. I'll be back Monday breaking down the latest in the world of MMA. Have a great weekend, guys. See you. Bye.